Greetings and the best of salutations. There will be prayer, power, peace, patience, and prosperity. I've been pretty challenged with my thoughts and my thinking, and in the manner and way in which I am able to manage them, to regulate them in the best of ways. Not to mention the human emotion side. I been challenged by dealing with the basic, the need for the basic necessities, the food, the clothes, and the shelter. It also happens to deal with uh, social comparison when it comes to being challenged with my thoughts and my thinking, as well as my being able to manage my emotions. And maybe it has something to do with the need of self-importance. I have wrote a book called Principles and Standards, Philosophical Therapeutic Thoughts of Expression. It's a book that I've written. I have my thoughts in there as well as the thoughts of others. In that, in this book, there are chapters which are explained. The first chapter is the guidance chapter. The second chapter is the warning chapter. The third is the good news. The fourth is the integration of expression of one's thoughts philosophically, therapeutically, and thoughtfully, and thoughts of being thoughtful. And realizing that which one must not take for granted is one's good intentions. The fifth chapter is resulting in the practice of a lifestyle. The sixth is the pledge. The seventh chapter is summing everything up. I'm gonna share a little bit of it. I believe Marcus Garvey said that if you have no confidence in self, you are twice defeated in the race of life. I make my case that many are suffering from SDLD, a social disorder learning disability, and that happens to do with once you, as Chinka Diop said, once you throw off the ecology of the environment, there is no balance, and you could be even smothering due to the pollution of the air. You know, but he said that once you throw off the ecology of the environment, one's intellectual aptitude for learning becomes difficult. I think Nina Fuller, associated with Nina Fuller, talks about external therapy. But this need for self-importance. Someone says self-importance is our greatest enemy. Think about it. What weakens us is feeling offended by the deeds and misdeeds of our fellow man. Our self-importance requires that we spend most of our lives offended by someone. Easily offended, a trigger and a trap. That which triggers us. And I was looking at, I will deal with that, but I was looking at the Big Five personality tests. For me, a test is designed to see how you process information. Got open mind, closed minded, and open to new experiences. Some may be more closed minded, some may be more open minded to new experiences. Another, disorganized or conscientious. One could be more introverted or more extroverted. One could be more disagreeable rather than agreeable. One could be more calm and relaxed. One could be more nervous or high strung. Verse 37 of chapter 7 in my book says, welcome home. Integration, assimilation is not answering the call in an unjust society. Reformation is an answer. However, biologically, the purest form of integration is the sperm mixed with ovum. As a result, you become a part of a coordinated whole that is also possibly could be coherent. The whole is in the science. To be whole is in the science. I realize that science is nothing. Science is about nothing that is created of itself nor for itself. There is nothing wrong with integration into a society if it is suitable. That's the teaching. Suitable teaching. That which fits you. That which is suitable for you. To be suitable, conducting for learning when it comes to developing one's intellectual aptitude for learning, because you are conducting or becoming the conductor for learning. And we're going to get into behavior or learned behavior. Dr. Du Bois said he did not go to Harvard because they had better teachers, but because the environment was more conducive for learning. This pertains to motivation, ambition, and environment. Something on dislocation. Dislocation is not eradicated through food, shelter, or attainment of wealth, but instead through a spiritual community to which one belongs. So we trying to find a place of belonging. I want to pull something from another book of mine called You Can Make a Difference. I'm going to read some of these medical terms. I believe they're medical, I don't know. Psychotherapy, the treatment, conditions by verbal communication and interaction. At an early stage, you are communicating to a child before a child has even learned to speak. By the manner and way in which you interact with that child, and the manner and way in which you interact with your interactions, period. You're communicating, and that's as you see, is psychotherapy. That's why I say I try to communicate with precision and clear image through the world through 5.5 channels: understanding, tolerance slash temperance, temperament, confidence, and respect. There is something called Gestalt, emphasizes personal responsibility. There are certain teachings says that there is a personal responsibility that you must have for yourself, because I realize that nature comes to awaken our conscious, and that we must be responsible with. Focuses on individuals' experiences in present moment. Happiness. Happiness is the joy that you feel when you're in pursuit of your potential. Happiness may be such a narrow term, but the term really means well-being. Yes, this was developed by Brother Fitz Gestalt. Comes to therapy. It focuses on insight and the patients in their relationship to the world. How do we relate to the world? Remember, when it comes to psychotherapy, the manner and way in which we interact with one another, we're communicating, we're sending a message. What is that message? Well, in this treatment, in relationship to the world, often use role playing and aid in resolution of post conflicts. You hear many people talk about post traumatic, post this, post that, post. And you notice that we see that in the cyber or social media that people post things. What role is one playing in posting something? For me, if there's any role, it deals with character. Character is the outgrowth of one's humanity. So, what is the child looking at? What are you communicating? Is it a message of character? Because people are only responding due to the extent of the damage and the injury has been done to his or her humanity. His character is the outgrowth of one's humanity. What role are you playing? A leading cast or supporting cast? Of being resolute. And then that leads to problem solving skills, you know. You could be a pessimist or optimist. No need to offer people false hope, to say things, to promise things that you're unable to come through on. That's fatalism. People would think the worst. Post conflicts. When I think of conflicts, I think of an image that people wants to project and trying to manipulate and even control. For example, one consider you as classify you poor, or even classify you as a criminal. I may use that language, and it's justified in the eyes of others to see you as that. And if someone sees you as being insignificant, such as a word called niggardly, they see you as being insignificant of any importance, because they see themselves as that, dealing with post conflicts, and they will act out in that manner, go to the extreme and take you out, because they had been their humanity and their emotions and their feelings, their thoughts, their thinking, their attitude, communication, as well as the actions that has been done and the message that has been communicating to them. It's taking them out of the equation, so they would take another person out of the equation. So yes, the environment, conflicts within the environment, environmental and social context of a person's life. You could tell the meaning of a thing in the context in which it is used. Dealing with a person's life and regulating adjustments people make as a result of their overall situation. Self regulating on a continuing basis. Adjustments. We have to make adjustments. People make as a result of their overall situation. I've learned we're born in a condition, placed in a situation, surrounded by circumstances, consequently due to some previous activity that's taken place. Sometimes the situation can overwhelm you. The situation can regulate you rather than you regulating the situation. Personally, your personal situation, not that of another. Cognitive behavior therapy, psychosocial interaction that aims to improve mental health. This behavior focuses on challenging and changing cognitive distortions and behaviors, improving upon one's emotional regulations. We see another regulation. Emotional. First it was self-regulation. Now it's emotional regulation. That which we do on a daily basis. A type of psychotherapy in which negative patterns of thought about self in the whole are a challenge to alter unwarranted behavior or treat mood disorders such as depression as well as thoughts of suicide. I realize there's probably 3 or 4 illnesses: mental suicide, emotional homicide, spiritual genocide, and maybe global fratricide, that which is happening among us as, as a as a human as a human family, a global citizen. How we hurt, harm, and danger, do bodily harm to one another due to the resistance of change. And the best body of knowledge is creation. The seasons change and even your body change and some thinking change. And we can see how people act out in very extreme ways because something external thing, something outside of them is regulating. It's regulating their thoughts, manipulating their thoughts, controlling their thoughts. And it becomes so far gone that they don't get the help that they need in the way that they get the help, the way that they think that they are getting help is to hurt, harm, injure, endanger, and wind up extremely killing another human being. In some strange delusional way, they think that they are helping. Very delusional. And it's a reflection of the society and the culture in which we live. Very sick, very sick. Behavior therapy, the treatment of neurotic symptoms by training the patient's reactions to stimuli. Things stimulate you, but you must take under consideration. Be very thoughtful on not allowing that which stimulates you, that you don't think things through, that you act very instinctively without being able to control your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions. Behavior therapy looks at a specific learned behavior, spoke of that earlier, and shows how the environment or other people's mental states influences those behaviors and consists of techniques of learning theories such as respondent or operant conditioning. Either behavior analysis or cognitive behavior therapists tend to look for objectively measuring treatment outcomes. Ignorance is the disease, and you should look for the learned, for treatment as your guide. So they tend to rely upon or involve themselves in one specific method. We can argue over methodology, but the principle stays the same. You know, you look at a car, it is meant to transport you or to travel. And some may drive may get on a camel, but the principle is still the same, but the methodology is a little different. That's all. By using a wide range of techniques can be used to treat a person's psychological problem. I'm still talking about psychotherapy, the treatment and conditions, about verbal communication and interaction. It, what we are interacting with is another form of communication. It's communication and the message that is being communicated. And is the question is due to media, press, television, or whatever, and even our personal interactions with our thoughts, our feelings, our emotions. Uh, what is it solving a problem? And what is that problem? Is it solving a problem when it comes to developing and strengthening our intellectual aptitude for learning? Is it giving us the balance that we need? Einstein said the same level of consciousness that created the problem won't solve the problem. The problem is not the problem, it's the attitude that we have about the problem. So what I'm saying in this wise is that which we message that which we are communicating under the teachings of that I've come to learn through common humanity. Is it making us coherent or are we incoherent? And are we still going around looking for the need of self-importance? And then we must get into distinguishing the difference between that which is neurotic, psychotic, and a psychopath. I'm going to deal with one more before I give those definitions. Hypnotherapy is used of hypnosis as a therapeutic technique, helps you with hopelessness, hostility, impossibility, helplessness. The immune system hypnosis is a deeply relaxed state. But we just want to deal with come to a point where we are a relaxed state, as I said earlier, in a personality type. And I'm going to go back to that in a minute. I am no therapist at all. But I say I'm a social interventionist. I just intervene in the affairs. Personality type: calm, relaxed, nervous, or high strung. Very challenging. Very challenging. Okay. Relaxed state. Feeling relaxed. Feeling relaxed. Okay. Group therapy. I'll stop right there. Let's deal with these terms here. Then neurotic, psychotic, psychopath. Well, I forgot this is another book of mine. You can make a difference. All right, here we go. It is taken from the book Bobby E. Wright, The Psychopathic Racial Personality, and other essays given Bobby Wright his due. Science is not objective, nor is it neutral. A black scientist who moves outside the psychopath's approved, of course, a study takes the chance of being labeled unscientific, emotionally biased. etc. Additionally, funds are only available to black scientists who support and approve course of study themselves. I realized the best project one can work on is him or herself. Many very competent black students who are naive about white scientific inquiry are flunked out of school because of their insistence of studying, a black problem. That's not necessarily always the case. Let me move on. In order to understand the psychopathic personality, one must differentiate between three classifications: neurotic, the psychotic, and the psychopath. The definitions of a psychopathology have been established and adhered to by the World Health Organization's International Classification of a disease. A dis-ease. No balance. A dis-ease is not balance. The contribution of black people in determining these classifications are almost non-existent. Generally, this is what he's saying. Generally, the neurotic is a person. The definition, that's what I wanted to get to, as he defined, is a person who suffers a great deal over problems that are handled uh, fairly routinely by a well-adjusted personality. Remember I said about the personality type, and we're still dealing with problems, and the problem is not the problem, it's the attitude that we have about the problem. Einstein saying the same level of consciousness that created the problem won't solve the problem. The problem is only becomes the problem when we take the eye off the goal. Personality tests again. Closed-minded or open to new experiences. Disorganized, conscientious, introverted, extroverted, disagreeable, agreeable, calm, relaxed, nervous, or high strung. Is there a balance in them, or one extreme to another? Or one is more needed than the other? You make the call. Well-adjusted personality. A person is that through which sound is made in a Latin sense. But the major problem of neurotics is their inordinate amount of anxiety. So I say the solution is conciliatory healing to overcome animosity and distrust, which leads to anxiety attacks. However, the contrast to the psychotic, the neurotic has very good reality contact. The psychotic person, in addition to being out of touch with reality. So, out of touch with reality. I always say we live in a simulated reality, which is not our own. When we look at that which we see on media, press, and television, we think that it is so. It ain't necessarily so. And people try to be something that is not themselves. So, let's deal with automatic distorted thoughts. 1. Emotional reasoning. That's how we interpret it and how we see things. When one let his feelings guide his interpretation of reality. I feel depressed. Therefore, my marriage is not working. One incident that has happened to me, and I must blame others for that incident. One incident that occurred, I must blame others for it. Emotional reasoning. I realize that many have lost their ability to exercise the ability to reason one with another, and reason from the premise of conversation and reason with progression. Out of touch with reality. Psychotic person has severe malfunctioning and many times has to be hospitalized. Out of touch with reality for a long period of time. Out of touch with the moral fabric of society. Out of touch with his or her humanity. Out of touch with his or her feelings, his or her emotions, his or her thoughts. Out of touch. in communicating the message and the treatment of therapy. And when a person is out of touch with reality and have severe, I'm not saying you can not only you can tell the people only responding and reacting due to the extent of the damage and the injury that has been done to his or her humanity. And I always say you can best diagnose anyone based upon the condition of the circumstances in which they come out. They have been out of touch with reality for long periods of time. And we see the extreme acts of violence. This leads to the psychopath.